If you see one of these jalapenos that's grilled,
that camera right there,
estilo Latino, Mexicano.
That's right.
This isn't just something that they put in there as garnish.
That looks good.
It's the best.
Gil took a bite of it.
Yeah.
Look at that.
You got to like roast that over actual fire.
You got to roast it over
You
fire.
can't mess around on that. That's not a microwave pepper.
And most people have never seen this or seen one like this. But when you order the George Lopez, you're going to get something that you'll see for the first time. Hello, everyone. Hola, mis amigos. You're listening to Oh My God Hi, Hijo de Dios. Hola. With me, George Lopez. Porque, ¿sabes qué? Let's do the show. Porque I got a lot of things to do. I gotta go to that dry cleaner ahí. My kid fell. Se pegó la cabeza. I gotta go get some Neosporin Paul.
You know what George is?
Oh, I'm sure he's around here somewhere.
What's his name? George
Lopez.
George Lopez.
Oh my God.
OMG.
OMG Hi.
Oh my God Hi.
If you're feeling overwhelmed lately, you're not alone. Start feeling better with Single Message. Talkspace Online Therapy matches you with a licensed therapist from the comfort of your device.
I think everybody needs a little help. So you can get $100 off your first month with the code OMGHI at Talkspace.com. Do yourself a favor and get better mentally. Con Talkspace.
Everybody needs help.
My daughter had 2 horses. Somebody said to me,
That's when you know.
they said a couple of things. That's when you're making too much money. They said to me, don't ever own anything that shits or eats while you're sleeping. Because it's got to just be fed, it's got to be cleaned, and
Unless you have a horse guy, right?
and then the horse guy counts, and then the fucking barn, then you got a trainer.
See where Loretta Lynn's guy, who used to run her ranch, he just died with all the floods in Tennessee. He just went down for the count. Flooding got him, washed him away.
All the bullshit that he saw and drugs that he did, he gets washed out with the water. It's like,
Dude. There's just
why
no
can't I
camera.
go out like... He did Loretta Lynn, but Loretta Lynn's not still living.
I don't want them fucking country.
I don't know. It's not quite my demographic.
That's when you know. That's when you know you've been around too long.
It's all over
George
there.
Lopez. George's still alive. I thought he...
No, Loretta
Wait
Lynn.
a second. Let me check.
89 years and kicking.
There you go.
89 years
See, I
still
was
going.
right.
Dang.
You know, Glenn Campbell had Alzheimer's, and then
Who's
you
that?
know,
I'm just kidding.
you know, or Tony Bennett.
Yep.
His doctors, you know, ordered him not to tour anymore because you can't be out there. I left my heart
Where the fuck did I leave it?
in the
In Denver.
in the yard somewhere.
See, Frankie Valli's still singing and touring.
Man, that's
Really?
Yeah, they had him on the news this morning. And
okay. So
He has to be like, what?
Alex Canter, I think, is like, you know,
Yes.
if you're a fan of gangster movies, this is a made man. Because to me, I say this about Canters. I say this about a delicatessen versus Firehouse Subs or Subway or
No
Jersey
comparison.
Mike's, or you want to go pray at a chapel, or do you want to go to the Vatican? A deli like Canters and your family. How long has it been in there, Alex?
90 years now. Yeah.
90 years is, and first of all, it's not easy to run a business 9 years, much less 90. But when you grow up like we grew up, where you go to carnicerias, you went to butcher shops. Butcher shops were famous with a better cut, better, fresher, and then all of a sudden now we started to want fast food, and we started to want food that from a window where they hand it to you.
Just a number.
But people who really know that a deli, a delicatessen, a place you go, is not only a place where it's family, it's comfort, it's what if you like it, you know what's there, and then employees never leave. You still have somebody there that was there when they opened?
We have 2 employees who have been there for over 50 years.
That's what I'm saying.
they just had the news media just did when they opened back up again. They did a special.
That's
How
right, yeah.
all the employees never left them. came back to work without hesitation, how they were so excited about getting their clients back in, just because it's all family oriented, and of course the food is excellent.
So if you could get a little bit of that at your house, which is what people are doing now with DoorDash, Grubhub,
Sign me up.
Lopez Tacos. What are we doing? NextBite?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, coming from Canters, like it is, as you described, this old school place. It's stuck in time. It's been around for 90 years. My grandfather grew up working there. My dad really dropped everything he did and has worked there his entire life. And Canters is this, it's this old school place, but it's actually one of the most popular restaurants in all of LA on Postmates and on these platforms because people love it. Matzo ball soup is selling like crazy right now. And it's because consumer behavior has changed. People used to get in their car and go drive to restaurants or go with their families, and now you can open up an app, click one button, and food comes to you. And that convenience is not a trend. And so what we're doing is we're making it really easy for restaurants to connect to these customers online, and we're building brands that are only exist online, like George Lopez Tacos, where we're now selling your tacos all across the U.S. in 35 states.
And the quality of it is what you would expect to get if you went to one of the restaurants, right? Explain the process, that the meat is the meat and the style is the style, right?
Yeah. So, first of all, if the food isn't excellent, then what's the point, right? You might be able to get someone to try it once for the first time, but if they're not coming back, you're not building a long-term sustainable brand, you're not building lifetime value. We want to create experiences that are memorable, that you want to tell your friends about, and so the food is everything. When we build these brands, we're thinking about the best quality ingredients that we can source. We're partnering with restaurants to teach them really how to make authentic carnitas, and
so they teach the cook, the chef, how to make it the way that it's made in the restaurant. So if you wanted, let's say, Thrifty's ice cream, the strawberry one with the little pieces of the real strawberry.
It's the best
one. You don't find anywhere, and somehow, it's not as popular as it should be. And to keep a business open 90 years, but also to be astute enough to take it to the next level where now, if you're not in LA, I know somebody that lives in Sacramento, and they send me pictures of the churros and the tacos, and they got them in Sacramento, and they loved it. A woman and her mom got them. So you can get them anywhere you live, but also, like you said, you ever see somebody that they look like they have big tetas, and then you realize, everything else is big too. So first impressions, I haven't been in the restaurant business 90 years. My family hasn't, but the place that I grew up going to in San Fernando's been there for maybe 70 years. But I would say that now, because people and the restrictions and everything that they like to eat, throw that out the window. When you present a piece of a dish or something, I think you only get one bite. The bite is a bigger first impression than if you see somebody with your eyes because of your taste. And I think you only get, I was telling these guys, I think you only get one. The first bite is the most important. And that decides whether people come back or not.
And speak of the devils, we have tacos coming into the studio right now.
Oh my gosh! I hope you're hungry.
How far back does how did your grandfather start it? I mean, what was
it was my great grandfather actually. 1931 is when we opened in Boyle Heights, which was where there were a lot of Jewish people in that neighborhood. Now it's very Hispanic, but we migrated over to Fairfax Avenue, which is where the whole Jewish hub of LA was in the 50s, and we've been there ever since. And the street has, changed substantially. There used to be 15 Jewish delis just on Fairfax Avenue in the 50s. We're the only one left. So, we've survived all these years by innovating, by thinking about, what's next, how are people interacting with the restaurants, how do we need to adapt and change. And even though we're an old school restaurant, we still are updating the menu constantly. We now have a vegan Reuben. We've got vegetarian matzo ball soup on the menu, and people are coming in and they're getting lox with a gluten-free bagel because that's what people are into.
These are the times,
So I think we've gotten this far by really embracing this mentality of adapt or die, and every year we're questioning what technology should we be embracing to carry this business forward, and what changes do we need to make to stay on our toes? Obviously, keeping it authentic and old school, though.
Where did gluten come from? I mean, is it the white person's kukui?
I have no idea.
I think it's the white person's kukui.
I had never,
you can't see it,
heard of gluten.
but they always want to know if it's around.
Up until about 5 years ago, I had never heard of gluten.
So gluten is. Do you think it's in the way that you started to process the wheat, or whatever you make bread with, maybe a chemical, or maybe a manufactured seed that's not organic?
Well, I think people are realizing like certain foods, affect them in different ways. Oh yeah, definitely dig in.
Chingate uno,
Apologize in advance for
Well,
the
we need
chewing
some
sounds.
napkins or something.
Yeah, I think they're bringing some in, but if they're not, let me go double check.
Mexican are you?
Still, I got to get started.
I'll be going like this. The rest of the show,
That's what our pants are for.
Running them on my pants.
No, but one of the things that you mentioned earlier, you said your friend texted you from in Sacramento. He was able to order these tacos. We're very lucky. We grew up in California, where there's amazing tacos everywhere, on every corner. But if you go to some of the suburbs of, Albuquerque, New Mexico, or Indianapolis, you don't have authentic Mexico City-style tacos. And like, for us to bring this brand to life and partner with restaurants all over, mom and pop restaurants, small to medium businesses, and teach them how to make this authentic food, it's bringing this flavor and these recipes to places that don't have that exposure.
How do we get people to go back to like a deli where, 4th Street Deli in New York, or the Carnegie closed? I love the Carnegie closed.
Yeah, there's not, the deli culture is it's a dying breed right now, because
it is, right?
At one point there were 3,000 Jewish delis in America. Obviously you got all your delis in New York and Miami and major cities, but today there's actually less than 150 Jewish delis left in the US. And every week it feels like there's more and more closing. Greenblatt's just closed last week.
I know, man.
That was a sad one for us. Yeah, I mean,
dude, that
was some real matzo ball soup up there.
And we're all part of this. I mean, when those places go, a little bit of what makes us comfortable goes too. And that's the thing, that we should always have things that are comfortable to us, that, if you're sick, we go to Canters, we get matzo ball soup, and you go to Greenblatt's, you get soup, and then that's gone, and now you're going to, I don't know, somewhere and getting soup. It's not
Panera,
done the same. Yeah, Panera.
It was last year was a devastating year for restaurants. 120,000 businesses shut their doors down. It's a lot of people working. And, at Canters, we had 150 full-time employees before COVID. And when they had to close down our dining room, we had to send people home, waiters, busboys, dishwashers, that have been there 30, 40, 50 years. And that was really a devastating moment for us, for the restaurant, for my family. We told everyone, come in and eat with us, have lunch on us, while we work through this. And this is a fluid situation that we got to navigate. But we were so happy to be able to bring people back. And what we're doing with NextBite, by partnering with restaurants and bringing more orders into their kitchen, we're increasing the chances that they're going to survive this and make it out on the other side even stronger, with a more profitable and sustainable model, which is really what this is all about, is how do we build brands and bring to life more orders that can be going through these kitchens that are so underutilized. If you think about a restaurant as like a manufacturing facility of food, they're operating at 30% output, maybe. There's dinner rush or certain times of the day where they're busy, but for all the other times they're kind of slow. So we can come in, turn on these extra brands for them, and light them up with an extra 5, 10, 20, 30 online orders a day.
And you can be outside of Indianapolis and have tacos from Los Angeles that taste like they're from Los Angeles and don't taste like it's an interpretation of some place.
Wow.
That just has a name, of a restaurant, but it's not, it doesn't go beyond the Latino name.
I'll be honest with you. In the documentary that we did,
thank God, finally.
It says, I was laughing because we went to an Italian restaurant, Little Joe's in Chinatown.
Yeah.
And I was laughing because here I was sitting there. I didn't know what the hell I was ordering. It's the first time I've been in an Italian restaurant. And I was already at Homicide Bureau. It was at Homicide Bureau, so I'm already in my early 30s, It's the first time I ever went into into Canters. It's the first time I'd gone into a Jewish deli.
Amazing.
It was, and now I go back. It's wonderful.
I don't know if anybody's ever had matzo ball soup. I don't even know if most Chicanos, most Latinos even know what matzah is.
I don't.
But my grandmother made caldo de res beef soup with cucumbers and cabbage in there,
Carrots.
and carrots, and the carne in
Yeah,
there, whatever.
either oxtails or beef shanks.
Especially that I grew up very limited in my scope of food, but I went to Canters. I've been going forever, since the '90s, and somebody that I knew was from Miami. They were having matzo ball soup, and I'm like, "What's that?" "Oh, it's matzo ball soup," and I'm like, "But yeah, all right." Do you know what it is? I said, "Oh yeah, of course I know what it is." I didn't know what it was, and then it's like you say no because you're just accustomed to say no. You're like, "Oh, you want something?" "No, I'm okay." You don't know what it is, but you just say no. You don't give yourself the experience. The first time I tried matzo ball soup was at Canters, and let me tell you, man, I'll go to matzo ball soup first when I don't feel well. It's the matzah, it's the way that it's made.
It's healing. We call it Jewish penicillin.
That's what makes it called chicken soup. That they give them chicken soup. What is it served cold? Is it served hot? Because I thought it was a cold soup.
No, it's hot. It's a hot bowl of matzo ball soup. It's basically chicken broth cooked with lots of vegetables. It's a really long process. You boil it for hours. And then you basically just strain the chicken broth out and you put this big matzo ball in it, which is like kind of a mixture between a cracker and a dumpling.
Yeah.
It's a big...
You ever had it?
Yeah.
No. I've never had it.
Sounds good.
But I tell you what, now I'm going to go.
Now you're
Now I'm
going to
going
get
to
some
go.
matzo ball soup.
You don't have to be sick to eat it. That's another thing.
I've never been sick when I eat it, so it's.
But I mean, it's so good, and that's what I think. When NextBite, we came to do the tacos, and all of a sudden, trying to find a name, and then you're trying to find the place, and then listen. If your name is Canter, like for me, I'm a person of LA. You're all right with me, like.
Yeah.
It's
know.
just a strong place.
It's a forever well-known place around here. And as I said, they were just big on the news, and it was very, very nice piece they did on them because of bringing their employees back and the way they treated their customers, and especially the family atmosphere. People were so happy to be back to work, which is something we're not seeing today. People are reluctant to go back to work because they're getting workman's comp or whatever they get. They're for not working.
It's a really challenging time for restaurants because
it is, right?
Everyone would rather be safely at home with their family, and it's been really hard to recruit and get people back into the restaurants to work because they're still high unemployment benefits and all of that, but if you think about it, like the restaurant industry actually employs close to 30 million people. I mean, it's a huge chunk of America. One third of Americans have worked in a restaurant. So this is a huge industry that we're supporting and serving, and it's not just a place of food. It's like these community hubs that are really these it's what creates the neighborhoods that are all across the country. So
sometimes when people get older, like me, and maybe you don't have as many friends, you live and they pass. And you can go to a place that makes you feel like you're surrounded by people who care about you, because they do. That you're not alone when you go to some place like a deli, Canters, you go in there and you see people and you have conversations with them. But at Subway, nobody hang around the Subway.
That feeling you get when you go into a restaurant like that is just
the whole
as
thing
good,
is getting you out of there.
It's just as good, if not better, than the food.
Right.
I mean, because it makes you feel like family, makes you feel like you're wanted, you're needed, you're here, we're happy. And who doesn't want that?
Well, maybe it would help so we jumped right into things, as we should, but maybe it would help to take a step back and sort of the explain like I'm five for the audience version of so this is like the whole enterprise of George Lopez Tacos, right?
Yes.
That is it's a digital kitchen. Is that the term?
So George Lopez Tacos is a virtual restaurant.
Okay, virtual.
Yeah,
it's
it's
close.
New style of restaurant. It's not something that existed 5 or 10 years ago. It's basically a restaurant that only exists online. So if you have Uber Eats or DoorDash or any of these apps on your phone, you'll open it up and you'll see all of a sudden there's this new brand called George Lopez Tacos.
Which we're eating live, and they are delicious.
is-
I don't know what the different types are, but I've had 2 so far, and they're
How are they?
fantastic.
It's got to be. You
Good.
know? If the food's not delicious, then what's the point, right?
And you know what's when
Even
you eat
the
at
churros are good.
Oh yeah, it's not just tacos. We got churros. We got some.
There's some
All right.
chocolate
chips and
sauce to
salsa.
dip the
there's some
churro.
chocolate sauce right there. Watch out.
Yeah, if you're just listening to the audio, you're missing
Amazing.
a feast for the eyes as well.
But now, when you would unbuckle your pants after you eat, you're like, oh. You know, this stuff is so good now that you don't need to do that and still be, you're not full, but you've had a wonderful dining experience. I mean, you don't.
If I'm at home, I'm not going to buckle my pants up to start with.
Well, the thing about
Pants?
delivery is when we're building brands with delivery first, like with the delivery first mindset, we have an opportunity to create from scratch something that we know is going to work well in an arrival experience. Like, we'll literally put food in the car, drive it around for 20, 30 minutes, and test it to make sure we got the packaging right, that we got, you know, all the little details were correct. And with this brand, what I love about it is that it's an experiential taco concept. It's a build your own brand. So it comes with the pile of meat, the stack of tortillas,
Right.
all the salsas, the onions, the cilantro, it's all on the side. And instead of sending the customer soggy tacos that, you know, by the time they arrive, the tortilla's breaking and everything,
Right.
we've really been thoughtful about, you know, how do we set this up for success and create a new experience with tacos?
This is mind blowing to me because the realities are I've seen your advertisement for the tacos, but there's no place near me, one of your restaurants. So I said, I'm not going to pay DoorDash to come from the ocean, come from the beach,
Right.
over to my house.
Right.
Well, the delivery.
that I know.
Yeah, so the delivery radius, the way it works on these platforms is when we partner with restaurants to turn them on and have them make the food for this brand, typically they're serving, you know, about 3 to 4 miles of distance across that community in that area. So right now we're partnering with restaurants all across the country to cover all these little 3 to 4 mile delivery radiuses.
Wow.
And you know, overnight we were able to launch with over 100 locations, which has never really been done before in the restaurant industry. You can't just create a brand and launch overnight with brick and mortar restaurants, but with virtual restaurants. And when you're partnering with these underutilized kitchens to make the food for this concept, it allows us to move faster than anyone's ever.
So
moved.
when you say like virtual, you think it's fast, but it's not fast because the experimenting and the getting the right product has gone. It goes on for a while, Alex.
Yeah, we have this test kitchen that we rent, and we actually do a lot of experimentation. We look at a lot of data to know what's selling well in which markets at what time of day, and we're looking at these trends that are happening both in the U.S. and internationally, people's dietary habits, and we're using all that data to design from scratch these concepts and these menus that we know are going to crush it on delivery, and then we launch it in our test kitchen on these platforms under multiple names and under multiple logos. We have great photos that we're using. And until we dial it in and nail it and the reviews are coming in and they're great,
Right.
once we nail that whole process down, then we scale it and partner with all these restaurants to turn it on. So we really kind of knock out all that.
There's two things. Listen, you don't have to like me. This is really the best compliment. People don't like me, even my own people. Can I read you? I wasn't planning on this. It's just
Let it rip.
This is
let
your
it rip.
show.
Can I read you something that someone wrote to me, and I read it last night, and I thought
Only if it would be therapeutic for you.
I didn't know.
Yeah. Don't do it for us. Do it for you.
But you know, when you're working,
Oh, we're going to read it.
are you
Wait, am I going to read it?
Are you carrying every
on the
Latino
edge.
person on your back, or are you just trying to be a success for yourself and your family?
Oh,
Do I? When you went to Vietnam, did you go for me, or did you go for because you got drafted? You went.
I
because
joined. I didn't get drafted. I enlisted.
joined. But
You know the date too. The exact date.
all of a sudden, we have to be the bearer of the whole culture. I didn't
big
struggle
responsibility.
to impress anybody. I struggled because that's what I needed to do to get to where I.
We owe nobody Nothing. Anything.
So-
Double negative. Nothing. Nobody. Nothing.
Yeah.
Anything. I just read an article by Andy Rooney. Rest in peace.
Oh, the
Andy.
greatest.
The greatest guy, and he addresses just that. We don't owe you anything. It was a great piece. People like him can't talk publicly anymore. Without offending people. But it was a great piece saying exactly the same thing you're just saying.
So, my politics, visit from the Secret Service, whatever. But when it comes to the food, it's like they've removed what they think of me and just like the food. And that's really, I think, one of the best compliments of it all.
That's all I
If
ever
you see one of these,
look at this tabernacle. I like the food.
if you see one of these jalapenos that's grilled,
That camera right there.
estilo Latino, Mexicano,
That's right.
this isn't just something that they put in there as garnish.
That looks good.
It's the best.
Gil took
That's
a
a-
bite of it.
Yeah.
Look at that.
You got to like roast that over actual fire.
You gotta roast it
can't-
over
You
fire.
can't mess around on that. That's not a microwave pepper.
And most people have never seen this or seen one like this. But when you order the George Lopez, you're going to get something that you'll see for the first time.
You're going to get new clientele because of the former adage has always been the tougher the barrio, the better the taco.
There you go.
You get all these tacos. Now you're going to be able to get that good taco without having to go into the barrio to get them.
You can get a taco that's just as good from a restaurant that has bars on the window. That's how you would tell me that you knew that some place was good.
The taglines are writing
You don't
themselves.
have to
aren't
have
they?
bars on the windows to know that this is real, and people love it, man.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, African American, his daughter's probably 14, and said, let's have George Lopez tacos for dinner, and they did it. They sent me pictures of them put them together as a family.
That's beautiful. And we have 15 brands that we've brought to life, like different types of concepts, from grilled cheese sandwiches to your tacos. And out of all 15 brands, right now, the #1 rated brand across the entire board is George Lopez Tacos. So
All right.
Well, there you go.
people are
There you go,
loving
man.
the food. They love the experience. They love the build your own kit style. It's kind of a new thing for people.
And so you sort of have to, like, if you're a restaurant, you have to more or less like pass a test. You have to prove you can make this sort of food. But in general, any kitchen with like the bandwidth to make this stuff as well can also become sort of like a virtual storefront for George Lopez Tacos.
So
Is that how it works?
there are 1 million restaurants in the U.S., and we believe over 90% of them have excess capacity in their kitchen to handle more volume. And what we're doing is we're identifying, which areas we think this might do well in, zip codes, all that stuff, looking at all this data and going and finding a restaurant in all these different cities and areas, partnering with them and saying, if you carry these ingredients and you make the food this way,
Right.
we will turn on this brand for you on all these delivery platforms. We'll provide you this technology in your kitchen that will just print out the orders, and all you have to do is put your head down and make food, and we'll pay you to do this for us. And so we're giving any restaurant that has the right kitchen equipment and in the right area the opportunity to really light up their kitchen with more
This is what it's
volume.
like. Let me explain it to you because you're old Latino. It's like if you had a tow truck company, but then the police department or the sheriff's department called you when they needed to get a car towed, and you went. That's just on. That's good on top of good. The business is already good, and then you get another truck, and then you get another one, and all of a sudden you're not relying on other just normal people to break down. You have law enforcement calling you
That's
and saying,
right.
"Can you go pick up this truck?" Yeah.
And that's the way it works. in
And
rotation.
so we have these restaurants all across America now. Some of them are American food, some of them are Chinese food. I mean, it doesn't matter what they're doing. We are able to go in and train them and say, this is how you prepare this food. This is what the ingredients you need to purchase. These are the jalapenos. Everything, and then they can turn on this second concept using their fixed costs that they're already using to run their restaurant. So the lights are already on, the rent is fixed, the staff is in the kitchen.
you
Whether
already bought all the machines.
whether you're doing one brand or a couple brands out of your restaurant. So we're really we've unlocked this opportunity to supercharge.
And the way
any
people
restaurant.
at mitoteros, if you get a bad taco, they're gonna rat you out. Yelp, mitotero, same thing. Like mitotero is what, like a tattletale?
yeah,
Mitotero is the thing. So Yelp is the mitoteros of
getting
of
involved
now.
and talking trash.
They're not gonna hesitate to say, "I ordered this. It wasn't what I expected," and when it's good, they'll tell you. But also when they're not happy,
They'll tell you.
That's
They'll tell
that's
you.
one of the hardest parts about the restaurant industry is people are so critical, and something might happen, like a delivery driver might show up late, and the restaurant gets blamed every time because, the customer who's placing the order, they don't know all the logistics of how it works. So, unfortunately, even the best restaurants in the world, if you go on their Yelp page, you're going to see 1-star reviews saying, this place was disappointing, it was overpriced, the food was cold. There's always going to be misses that happen. It's not even always the restaurant's fault, but no matter what, there's going to be haters in everything that you do. So with this concept, we're trying to just, you can't please everyone, like you said.
See how nice he says that? There are going to be haters in whatever you do, but with this concept, we're going to be able to come through. Well, if I'd have been a Canter, I bet I'd have been smarter than I am today.
I think you would have the same body, but I think you'd be smarter. So growing up, there was this thing called, do you remember Chicken Delight?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Remember the
do.
song?
No, something tonight called Chicken Delight.
Don't cook tonight.
Yeah, don't cook tonight.
Called Chicken Delight. So Chicken Delight, when you would order it, it was really the first delivery that I ever had in my life. And they put a bucket of chicken on top of the car, so that way you didn't get excited when every car went down the street. You would just know, like, that's not it. And then it had a little spring, so when it stopped, the bucket was on the spring, so it would go like that.
I don't know. We never got to order that shit in my house.
When you saw it come around the corner, you were like, it's here. And then they had, like, we have the churros that are that size. Like, I wanted to make them smaller. But they had the Mojo potatoes that were the wedges then. And, I mean, come on. So when I started to open the Chingons and all this stuff, and this lady was doing, like, restaurant magazines, and she says to me, I have one more question to ask you. My editor wanted me to ask you, like, why you put your face as the logo of the restaurant. Like, drive down the freeway, you see your face, with a can, has my face.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing, right? So
they
she's
wouldn't
like,
allow me to put my nalgas up there.
I guess, whether I'm, whatever I am, it's just my, they wanted me to ask you that. And then, I said, did anybody ask Colonel Sanders why he put his face on every bucket of chicken? And the lady was like, okay.
Well, delivery used to, before 5-10 years ago, before all these apps, the big delivery restaurants were basically just pizza and Chinese food.
Right.
That's kind of what was known as like food you would order for delivery. And
Carry on.
all good.
We got another order. You don't go with it, put your apron on.
Yeah, the orders are
And your
going.
hair,
It's going crazy.
And so pizza and Chinese is where delivery started, and then now with these big companies like Uber Eats and DoorDash, they have millions of drivers on the road on every block, and they're going one by one to these restaurants, signing them up for the platform, and every restaurant from fine dining to sit down family restaurants, even Michelin star,
Right.
fancy restaurants in New York have figured out how to incorporate what they're doing on their menu for delivery, which is a totally new thing. You never used to be able to order sushi on delivery, and
Right.
now
Yeah.
it's like every sushi restaurant and across Los Angeles is doing bento boxes or some sort of version of a menu that works online. And it's all possible because these companies are doing the delivery for you as a restaurant. It's very expensive when you're a restaurant, it's expensive to hire your own drivers.
Right.
There's insurance, there's slow times of the day where the driver's not doing anything. But with these companies, it really unlocks the opportunity for any restaurant to participate and get online and reach customers who live within that 3 to 4
So
miles
what it
away.
does is it doesn't leave anybody isolated. Like, it's all kind of like reaching out. One hand washes the other, or one thing can keep someone else in business and keep other people in business. And isn't that what business is? It's just relationships.
So if I'm a listener of this podcast, and I am, but if I'm a listener of this podcast, like, how would I go to check if there's a George Lopez tacos near me? If I'm able to order it, what's the?
Let me just give you my cell. It's 818.
Yeah, just text George. There's first of all, if you have DoorDash or Uber Eats or any of these platforms on your phone, you simply open up the app and search, and if it's available, you can place an order and have it brought to you. Otherwise, you can go to georgelopeztacos.com and put in your zip code, and it will tell you if there's any locations in your area. And if there's not, you can actually request that it notifies you when they do open up in your area. So we're
great.
constantly adding more locations every day. I think today we already signed up 2 more locations across. One's in Florida, one's in Texas, and every day we're turning on more locations.
So I'm gonna. Well, no,
You just opened a restaurant in Florida this morning.
Okay, so
How about that?
wherever this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be in Las Vegas Labor Day weekend. Now, if you call, what's the number of the podcast?
818-533-1843.
If you call that number the Saturday of Labor Day, I don't know what day that is.
September 6th, maybe, or 5th.
There's a calendar app. Let me check.
The first,
And which day do you say?
the Saturday
Saturday.
before Labor Day.
Saturday, so the
Labor Day
4th.
weekend.
4th.
In Las Vegas,
September 4th.
from
September
2 p.m. to 4 p.m., if you order George Lopez tacos, George Lopez will deliver them to your house. Wait a minute, that's me. I'm going to
The wheels
deliver.
are turning.
I'm
How's this
going to
gonna-
deliver George Lopez tacos
Never mind.
from 2 to 4 on that Saturday. What day is that?
The 4th.
September 4th.
Saturday, September 4th.
And just order, and I'll let Alex know, and then I'll
Are you
be in
gonna have
Vegas.
Are you gonna have a bucket on the top of your car?
I am. I'm gonna put some bullshit. Huh? A little. What should I put? A little piggy bank or some shit? Mexican piggy bank.
Maybe a little,
Taco.
maybe a little
Just put
bobblehead.
I'll put a bobblehead up there. You'll know it's
Get
me.
your own head. Yeah, you got to get your face.
I'll get my head
you
up
do
there.
one of these cans.
So
Since you love putting your face on everything.
this I know. I don't love it, but I'm skinnier when they draw me. So so this will air next week. The day. What day is that? The 30th. And then that weekend I'll go and deliver.
You heard the man.
You heard it here first. All right, let's.
I think there's no better way to find out what people want than to go deliver them myself.
I may go to Vegas just to have you deliver.
Let's go.
There you go. Come from George and Gil. That would be a hell of
I'll
a-
be out there for 2 hours, from 2 to 4.
All right, baby.
All right.
Let's
good, right?
Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's find
good.
out.
They were good. You get my vote.
Awesome. Well, I know we have to be mindful of time a little bit today, so thank you so much, Alex, for stopping
you.
by. I don't know.
Thank you, Alex.
George Lopez Tacos, anywhere you get delivery, right? You can check, see if it's in your area.
We're in most major cities now, and again, every day we're signing up new locations. So if we're not in your area right now, we will be at some point. So
Alex, I didn't
love
get
it.
to meet you formally, but Gil Correa, it was a pleasure meeting you.
Nice
I
to meet
thank
you.
your family for their humanity, the way they are, their graciousness. They're just
Thank you.
a wonderful, wonderful family.
thank you so much.
Bless them. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's such a great place to see, and like I said, the movie Be Cool, they filmed it in there.
That's right.
And I'm gonna
That's
go.
awesome.
And I'm gonna go try some matzo soup, matzo ball soup.
Please.
I'll take it.
There's a bowl with your name on it.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. All right, right on.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
The world is racing to get back around and start meeting up in person again. But after the year we've all had, getting back to feeling normal takes time.
Well, you know, when you ask somebody who's a friend and not a licensed therapist, like, what would they do, or do you think I'm right, or do you think I'm wrong? You know, don't put your friends or your family member in the position that a medical physician should have. Get good help fast and get it quick, and that's what Talkspace is doing. So, you know, we all feel overwhelmed. You're not alone, and you can get real support from a licensed therapist. That's what Talkspace is all about.
Whether you're a parent, student, millennial, or just someone having a hard day, Talkspace can provide the support to help you feel better with a single message.
Okay, anxiety is something that shows up in different ways. Shows up in shortness of breath, shows up in panic attacks, shows up at the most unexpected times, and you don't know what the trigger could be. You know, Talkspace therapists, what they do is they help you develop tools that allow you to cope with your emotions in difficult times. Gil?
Talkspace also works around your schedule at your convenience. Send and receive unlimited messages with your dedicated therapist in the app. Schedule the live video sessions with your licensed therapist from anywhere. Whether you're experiencing depression, anxiety, or other problems, Talkspace is the #1 online therapy platform to help you sort through any
So
issue.
all of these people are licensed therapists, and they're available to match you with somebody that you feel comfortable with. So you would get somebody that, and you can, you know, go through what you like and don't like. You can be honest, and then they'll line you up with somebody that is always there for you, and you don't have to feel embarrassed or make yourself feel uncomfortable telling friends or family because then they'll get in the car and go, I don't know what's going on with that dude. But Talkspace gives you a place to be honest. Very few places like that anymore.
Well, there you go. Don't hesitate. Start feeling better with a single message. Match with a licensed therapist when you can go to Talkspace.com and get $100 off your first month with promo code OMG Hi.
Yeah, that's $100 off when you use the code OMGHI at Talkspace.com.
So here we are. We're going to go back to when Netflix released a documentary, Night Stalker, Search for a Serial Killer, Hunt for a Serial Killer. The documentary went out. It was a 4-part series, and part of that series, the series was about the investigators and the investigation that went on. And on my part, since I was one of the investigators, it talked about my relationship with my dad. And my father, all I ever wanted to do was make him proud. I wanted him to be proud of his son. And so it ended up, in the long run...
But it just wasn't about him being proud of you at that particular time. It's about being proud of you your whole life and his whole life.
Yeah, my whole life. You know, we didn't have... we had a loving relationship, but we didn't talk much. There wasn't much communication that went on between us. And I knew he loved me, but I just wanted to impress him. And unfortunately for me, he passed away before the case was adjudicated. And I remember going home and crying that night. And my wife, I had never talked with her. I had never cried as an adult. And she just reached over and said, it's okay. He was with you. It was a very touching time, very special. Well, after the documentary, Daniel Parks reached out to me. And when he reached out, he said that he enjoyed the documentary, but that it also touched his heart, the relationship that came across about my dad and himself, and his dad and himself. And he was asking me if he had my permission to do a painting of my father. And I said, you have my permission, just let me know how much it costs when it's done. And I'm there. It's of my dad. It was very important to me. So he advised me at that time he wanted to pay it forward. He thought that I had done something nice in the armed forces and I had done good as a cop. And so he wanted, it was his time to pay it forward.
Very special.
So I said, yes, do it. Not knowing what to expect, what it was going to be like. I didn't know the man. I believe he's from Tennessee. And, and I hope the floods haven't gotten you. I pray that everything's safe where you're at. And
it's been raining, but I mean, it's just hot today. Everything's fine. It's the most bipolar state in terms of weather. Never come here. It's
okay. So he sets out and he starts painting. And he took the pictures right from pictures that they used in the documentary. And I take it the first time I got to see any of it, it was about 60-70% done. And he said he wanted to see my reaction. So there was FaceTime going on. And when it was going to happen, I had my wife and my daughter, who is now 49 years old, standing right behind me. And then he said, here it goes, and he showed it to us. I immediately started crying. Took my, it was seeing my dad. And it wasn't complete yet. My wife just started crying immediately. My daughter said, oh my God, that's Grandpa. And she had to leave the room. She was crying. That's how much it impacted me. So I asked my good friend George Lopez if he could have me on at least one more time because I wanted to show the world the artwork that you had done. We got the artwork in a little over a month ago. We sent it down to, at George Lopez recommendation, a frame shop here in L.A., and it's Mike's Monster Frames.
Yeah, Monster Frame.
Monster Frame in Los Angeles. What a job he did. It just, I picked it up on Saturday. It took my breath away. I cried. My family, my sisters haven't seen it yet. And so I asked George, I wanted one more time here so I could bring Daniel the artist on the show to show his work, show what he had done and how it affected myself and my family. And I am eternally indebted to you, sir. And I hope...
Man, thanks. much.
I just hope that, and I remember one time before you said it, when you showed it to me the first time, you said you were thinking about giving a painting, but
Yeah.
this had just renewed your belief that you still had the ability. And I'm here to tell you,
Absolutely.
brother, you do have the ability. It's remarkable, and I can't thank you enough. And now the world has the ability to see what you did for myself and my family.
Well, I appreciate all of you for the opportunity to be able to show it. And yeah, I was about to give it up. When I did this for you, it kind of reminded me the joy that I got out of showing people what I could do. Before doing this for you about a year ago, I ran a business where I was selling my art, and it got to the point where it was getting too busy to keep up by myself. So I had to discontinue that for a while. And a few months in, I didn't draw at all, and I just kind of lost it and saw the documentary, and I was like, I can really tell that he loves his dad, and I can't say the same thing for myself. But I'm like, I admire that kind of relationship, and one of my dreams is to be a dad. So when I see your dad, had that effect on you, I admire that, and I envy that for you. Again, that's an amazing guy. So I had a blast doing it. I think this is the best time I ever had doing a project. Hell, I've done like probably 100 projects for like special people in my life, and this is definitely by far blows it out of the water. My favorite. I enjoyed it. Even the second one that I did for you was even.
What I think
it's just as fun to do.
What I think is great about just art and what people connect to. It brought us together. It brought Daniel together, but I got the same reaction that Daniel got watching it. Can we show the picture? Do you mind?
Yeah.
If we show
All right, Aaron, if you can cut to, I'll hold it up in the middle.
Hold it. Yeah, hold it up. Is that if you say to somebody, "Hey, don't be a stranger," and that's somebody but don't be a stranger in the ability to connect to something and connect to someone. It's a beautiful picture. You want describe what Daniel did.
Daniel, what he did was he took two pictures and he painted it in one. One is a picture of my dad by himself. He took from standing, just a picture. He just eliminated any of the background or anything else behind him. And he showed him holding an 8x10 picture standing next to me the day I graduated from the academy, from the Sheriff's Academy, and holding it close to his heart. And even captured my dad's missing fingers.
Man.
So it was, and it looks just like my dad. I just, it's beautiful. So many memories. And he passed. It was funny because where he worked, people used to say, "Hey, Mexican, come over here," and he'd laugh jokingly saying, "I'm not Mexican," and he'd point down to his arms and he'd say, I'm smoked Irish, just a little well done." And he died on St. Patrick's Day 42 years ago.
Man.
So it took him on St. Patrick's
Amazing.
Day, the Irishman that he was, and you brought him back to life. And he'll hang proudly in my house where I'll be able to see him. And my grandkids, my kids are just so overwhelmed. My grandkids that never knew my dad, but they've seen pictures and heard me talk about him, they just couldn't believe how well it was done. So, like I said, I'm forever indebted, and this will be something that'll stay with me for the rest of my life.
Well, thank you so much, man. Honestly, the fact that it resonates with you that much, because I was being hard on myself the whole time. Like I was like, asking the family, like, "Hey, does this look like him? Does this look like him?" And then I think my mother was like, "What's Burt Reynolds doing on a canvas?" I was like, "That's not Burt Reynolds. Get the program. Come on." But no, thank you so much, and just the opportunity. George, cool to see you. Man, I met you as Mr. Electric when I was like 2. So it's good to meet you. And Gil, again, man, like to me in my heart, you're a hero because, the documentary kind of touches how you were, also a war hero and and they kind of capitalize how you kind of were kind of treated like crap, your idea and your theory. So I like the fact that you're getting all of this positive energy back into your life for that, and I hope that, like we talked on the phone earlier, you'd said that you had made a new friend out of a woman that had a joke, and connections like that is what it's all about. So I'm glad I was able to bring you that experience to you, and that this is the coolest thing that I've ever done.
Well, I'm extremely happy, and I'm glad that we met, and I can't thank you enough. I don't know what you're doing for business now, but is there any way if somebody else wanted to get in touch with you for money, how do they, are you still interested? How would they get in touch with you if they wanted you to do some business?
They can get in touch with me through Facebook.
All right.
Same name through Facebook, and they can just contact me through there. I used to have a social media, but I just kind of went off of it for a while. I haven't really ignited it back up, because when I posted my artwork, I remember at one point, got like close to 100,000 likes at one point.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
And it kind of intimidated me, and I didn't know how much, because I only have two hands. I can't draw 30,000 shoes at once. So yeah, I have a piece of artwork I'm going to show you guys. Just one sec.
Yeah. Also, when you get back, if you can still hear me, let's grab whatever the name of your Facebook is. Just like spell it out so people can, leave no guesswork if they want to find you.
As in Daniel, and then Parks as in Parks, like Parks and Recreation.
There you go, Daniel Parks on Facebook, to enlist his services.
I'll have my goofy mug as the cover. I don't know how many Daniel Parks there is in the world, but there can't be that many.
And if you're looking for a testimonial, Gil's the best. His intro was maybe one of the best things I've ever heard. So
yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, great. So, describe for the audience what you're holding up right now.
So this was a popular subject that I drew. This is a rap artist that passed away a few years ago by the name of Lil Peep, and I had a large of his fan base ask me to draw this year. And this is just an example of what I did. I probably drew stuff like this like 70 times.
Man,
so
that's crazy.
This is what I did for money for a while.
And that's
but yeah, I'm open
like
to
Vans
commissions.
Is that what
I do
that is?
Jackets, I do pants, canvases, shoes. I've done walls before too.
That's those Vans look pretty amazing, man. That's well done, dude.
Mr. Chingon's picture on one.
Yeah. Put one with Cheech and one with Chung on one.
There you go.
You know what? I've had that. I did one with Snoop on it not too long ago. And George, you were actually a commission idea that never went through. They wanted your face on the shoe, with your catchphrase from the Nickelodeon show on the side of the other shoe.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a cool idea too.
All of it works, man. That's awesome. All right, Daniel. Well, I'm sure we'll see you again, dude.
All right, man. Thank y'all for having me on.
Yeah.
Daniel, thank you.
Thank you, Gil. All right, man. Y'all take it easy.
Right.
Be safe.
Stop
Good to see you,
by.
brother.
Check him out. There you go, Daniel Parks on Facebook. And if anyone, if we get word that anyone reaches out to him and tries to get something for free or for exposure or something like that, let's put him on blast.
That's right.
That's a man who deserves to be paid for his efforts. I got to say, one of my favorite parts about being on this podcast, when I do get to be on, is seeing people like you, Gil, and George, and Daniel, for that matter, like just having moments like that, like being vulnerable. Like you could hear the emotion in your voice as you were describing this thing, and like, I don't know, that's something that I find very cool and inspiring as well. Is like, you're someone who on the outside a lot of people would think like, oh, just sort of gruff, cool dude, but you were more than happy. It seems to be like, hey, this had me feeling emotional. I'm not afraid to dig back into that right now. I don't know, something that I just think is very cool to see, because there's not a lot of role models in that.
I'm secure in my manhood. Hey, it happens. I can't deal with it.
What's going on with you personally in your life? Like, you have the VFW, you go over there and you see those guys.
I go there, see the guys.
And then you travel. You've traveled a little bit, right? This year, even with the pandemic.
And now it's just, I look forward to Mondays doing the podcast with you. I go down to VFW on Tuesdays. Last week we did the podcast on Tuesday, so I went straight from here to the VFW. I took their picture, sent it to you. I'm dying to see them tomorrow night, because you put in there, in my regards to the Vatos from the VFW.
Yeah.
They'll laugh. It's all good. I'll be leaving on the 8th of September. I'm going to Dallas to do a speaking engagement. Coming back, if we secure the 11th for the fights?
We're down.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I can. They wanted me to stay and come back on Saturday morning, which puts me here at 11 o'clock, which is fine. But I just don't trust the airline with the weather and stuff like that, so I may come back on Friday. If I can get out on Friday, I'll come back on Friday instead, because I definitely want to go to the fights.
Awesome. And what fight is that for our fans, for the listeners?
Oscar De La Hoya versus
his demons. No,
Now
that's a fucking good one right there.
that'll get a lot.
That's
Who gets the pay-per-view, Chuck? Yeah.
Yeah.
and he fighting the MMA
Is
guy.
he fighting the MMA? Yeah.
I'm double checking. Vitor Belfort. Yeah. Right? Who was an MMA. Is that right? Yeah.
And I was at Oscar's fight against Pacquiao, which didn't go well. But what's in the heart of listen, man, staying too long in the game is what fighters do. I mean, Muhammad Ali was stopped on the stool. Like, you don't want to do that. But, Oscar told me when he was preparing for Pacquiao, it's like when you're toward the end of your career and if you win, you should get out, but you think you got one more in you. And if you lose, you think you should get out, but you don't want to go out on a loss. And that push-pull,
That's what drags you in.
you have to live with for the rest of your life. So for him to do this, it's got to be over 10 years from the last time.
I think it's something like 13 years since his last sanctioned fight or official fight or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll be glad to be there to cheer him on and watch it.
Just to go in there and put gloves on after that amount of time and to challenge yourself, I don't know what you expect it to be. I mean, it's not going to be like he was in his prime, but he has ability and he's working really hard.
It's not a team sport either. You go in there, you put it all on the line, and he's a true warrior for doing it.
It really is. When he was doing media day for Pacquiao, I went up to Big Bear and sparred with him for
No kidding.
30 seconds. It took me a day and a half to catch my fucking breath.
Oh, just a high altitude you were used to.
Yeah, it's the altitude.
Like, so what does it mean? What does it mean to come out here for Oscar to? And my legs, I don't know those guys, man. And then you're getting hit while you're trying to work. That's
that's what's
It's
crazy.
like doing my homework when I was with my grandmother. But anybody who has the balls to step on the stage of whatever size or whatever sport or whatever craft gets respect from me, because there's a lot of people, there's millions of people who talk themselves out of things that scare them or things that intimidate them or things that they're not sure they would be good at. Well, when you start, you're not good at it, but that doesn't mean that you can't stick with it and potentially be good at it. And if everybody thought that, I think most of the athletes that I admire or celebrities that you admire come from not humble beginnings, but turbulent beginnings too, where, not everything was what a child would want or a family would want, but those are the things that draw you to want to be applauded or laughed at when you go there. It's something for you.
Yeah.
But then sometimes, look at Macho Camacho. I mean, I was watching this Showtime documentary. I'd love to get his mom on this show. He struggled with drugs and his own demons, and when he still thought he could fight, there's a scene toward the end of his documentary on Showtime where they go and try to wake him up to go and run because they got him a fight, and he says, "Listen, man, I appreciate you guys for trying to help me, but I'm a junkie, man. All I want to do is get high." And fuck,
Wow.
It wasn't the bottom because he got shot waiting in a car somewhere in a bad neighborhood, but it's just one of the most honest things I've ever seen on video. And
Mondo Ramos was a fighter that didn't want to fight. He was afraid to get in the ring, and he kept fighting for his dad. His dad was pushing him, and he didn't like getting in the ring. And I've seen him fight. I see him, up until before the pandemic, I'd still see him around the fight game once in a while.
Tough business, man. It's tough. MMA and all that stuff too is. That's almost a bare knuckle, man. It's like the old Jack Johnson shit, that bare knuckle stuff, right? Because
yeah, and they barely got any pads on the.
There's barely any
whatever they call
pads
them.
on that thing.
I think allegedly that's better at the end of the day. At least like bare knuckle is technically better because then like the thing that gets in the way is you hurting your hand. So like if you have really good gloves, you can throw a punch that will mess someone up in a way that if you didn't have gloves, you wouldn't throw that punch because you're hurting yourself too. So I have heard some people even argue that, like, bare knuckle safer in some ways.
I don't know. I deplore violence.
I was at the fight at Staples when, what was the guy's name that had the cement wraps on his hands?
The Mexican guy, dirtiest fighter, and they called him dirtiest guy.
Fucking could have killed somebody. Could have killed the one guy, like really just brutalized him, and then the athletic commissioner comes over to me because we were waiting, and he's like, "Oh man, I just came from the dressing room, and they made the guy take his gloves off, and he put like quick."
Was this Margarito?
Margarito.
So plaster of Paris.
Plaster of Paris.
It's like what paper mache stuff is made out of, isn't it?
Plaster of Paris, what casts are made out of.
Oh.
So that was his thing where they would wrap his hands, and he wouldn't necessarily show people, but he's wrapping them and then wetting them, and you're fighting with 2 cement blocks on your hands.
Woof.
Not good. Not good.
So good luck, Oscar. He'll be on the podcast next week, and it'll air
right after that. So it'll air right around the time of the fight.
The week of his fight.
That's good.
And what's the little putita update that you have for us?
Well, the lady that called in and said wanted to know if the fact that she had been happily married for years and things were going well, and she loved her husband, but twice a year she felt like she needed to cheat on him, and these urges are getting to her, and she asked the question, "Does that make me a big puta?" Mm-hmm. Well, after we got done laughing, we answered the question seriously and said, hey, to each his own. If that's what you want, if it keeps your marriage together, whatever you want to do, it's not our business. Well, she reached out to me on Instagram and let me know that she was happy. She didn't think that we'd air it, but we did, and she laughed. She looks at you and myself as her two tios, and everything is good. She then continued the fact that she told her husband what she had done, and he was not happy, but everything was still working out. They were talking about it. They were discussing it.
So she told her husband that she was like, "Hey, I left a voicemail for this show, and I said I love you. I would never cheat on you, but about once a year I want to cheat on you."
Yes, and in that first message, somebody said, "By the way, I've been married 12 years, and I've never cheated on my husband." So this was just something she had inside her. She felt like it. Well, after explaining it to him, after this thing aired, she says he got pissed off, and he didn't like it. He was upset with her, but after they talked about it, things were cool. So I reached out to her. This time I reached out. I said, "Hey, do you mind if we give an update to the listening audience or the viewers? Because your story was not only, yes, it was funny, but yet it was cool and interesting, since you've gone along."
It's very interesting to me because we're kind of all raised to this kind of, the way that even vows are written, till death do us part, forsaking all others, and it's definitely a different mindset that comes from some.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not.
And depending on where you're from, I mean, my wife's from the bottom. I was just at the concert Saturday night, and there was a lady sitting next to me that was loaded, and my wife was watching her, and she looked like she was with, Mr. Goodbar, he was a sugar daddy. Right. And she was loaded, and every time he wasn't looking around, if I looked to my left, and I had some friends of mine sitting on the other side of her, Vidal from the 1-800 Autopsy.
Oh, yeah.
He was sitting down. He had come and said hello, and we hugged, sitting a couple of seats down. And I'd look to my left, and every time I looked to my left, she'd look at me, and she was winking. And one time she started lifting up her dress, and I looked at the wife. I had to turn back around, and I told the wife, I said, she's either going to pull down her calzones, or she's showing me that she doesn't have any calzones on. And so it was very
unsanitary if she's not wearing.
Very unsanitary. And I was worried about COVID, so it was unsanitary. And so, but my wife kept an eagle eye on her. She's from the barrio. So for something like this, for this lady to call in and say, I have these feelings,
Yeah.
And so some people aren't open-minded. Some people don't have the understanding. And, hey, if it doesn't hurt me, I don't care what anybody does. Sex is whatever makes you feel good. So I wrote back to her, and I said, hey, do you mind if we talk about it on the show as a follow-up? Because I want to know, listeners want to know whatever happened to the lady. And so she says, yeah, go ahead. Just as you told me you're not going to mention her, so I'm not mentioning her name. But her and her husband have been talking. They're both happy. He's aware of her feelings. And so they're moving forward now. And hopefully she'll give me an update if anything occurs, if she fulfills her dreams or fantasies, whatever they are.
Well, how about to the people that are listening and people that have been involved? I mean, there were swingers clubs. There was swingers nights.
Key clubs,
At some bars, there were swingers nights. There was, there's a bar on Roscoe. It's not there anymore, but it would say for the over 40 crowd, like that, a bar that was just for people that were over 40. If you look at, I think this is a bit of something that is, anybody would consider dangerous. Tinder, of meeting somebody on Tinder. If you look on YouTube or you look at documentaries, there's a ton of things that people meet on Craigslist. And
there was that doctor that was killing girls on Craigslist. He'd invite them over, and then he was cutting them up.
And and those things continue to thrive. I don't know what the most popular dating app is, but you swipe and then you meet somebody and then you go, and it's incredibly. I would say it's incredibly dangerous.
There was a bar, a nightclub out in the Orange County area, because I remember I went to eat dinner with two other couples, and we're having dinner at this restaurant, and they said, that's a place right across the street. And they're talking about the place across the street. It was a cocktail lounge. And it was known, surprise to me, it was known as being a cougar hangout. You'd go in there, a young man, cougars were picking up on all the guys over there. And I said, God bless them. So stuff's out there. This lady just came out and talked about it. She joked about it initially, but it sounded like she's serious, and she wants to go through with it. So, more power to her. And she's going to keep me updated.
I went to the Bird's Nest in Rancho Mirage, this old club that's there, and it's really for old people. And this lady came up to me and asked me to dance, and she was probably in her late 70s. And I said no. And then she said, why not? And I said, because I have to go shave my goatee off if it's going to make me look like I'm in the same age range as you are.
If it makes you think you got a chance.
I went to the bathroom and they had a guy in there, an attendant, and I said, hey, man, you got a razor? And he's like, I got one in my car. I said, can you go get it? I fucking shaved right there in the...
Did you go back and dance with her?
No.
Oh.
There you go.
I'm not. I talked about not being, but I'm not dating anybody for the rest of my life. I don't know how long I'm going to live,
but done. You swore it off dating.
I think so.
Was it the last time? A few times you're just
No.
like, I'm done with it. Was there a big thing? Was it just you feel this way? You're at a point where it's like, too much work.
Don't need it.
I kind of don't need it.
Yeah.
I don't know how exciting your life is when you're still trying to learn a song that was written 55 fucking years ago on a guitar, but it makes me happy.
Good. If that occupies your time, hey, if that floats your boat, do it, brother.
And I'm not arguing with anybody. I'm not having anybody say, you
get to do whatever you want on the
why
weekends.
can't we do that? The house is pretty good, So I don't expect, Although I might have a date for Oscar's fight, though, but we'll see.
All right. I did send you a message.
That's going to be a big night.
My wife wants to, she's going to go.
Yeah, I know. So she's going, and then it'll be fun. We'll go there and watch the preliminary fights, and right?
Yeah.
Get some drinks, and
there you go. Watch the great return.
That's a great return of the great Oscar De La Hoya.
That's good. So after September, I have October coming up, and I'll be going to Atlanta, Georgia to be a speaker back in Atlanta, Georgia. And that'll probably be it for speaking engagement. Yeah, I got a couple
for the press
Zoom stuff between now and then for private companies. But that's it. Spending time around the house with the grandkids. I was I was fortunate. I don't know how this stuff happens. Liza calls me up yesterday and invited my wife and myself to go to a football game.
Did you go to the game?
No, I couldn't go. We already had planned the grandkid. My daughter and the grandkids were coming down. So I said, hey, Liza, I'm sorry, but we've already got plans. But just the mere fact that she reached out to me made me feel wonderful. Nice lady.
What's going to happen, do you think, with all these sporting events where people are fighting, man? Like, I mean, really throwing blows. I mean, if I took mine to a game and that was going on around, now I think it would just, put a scar on a kid. Like, you don't want your kids to see people throwing racial epithets at each other, and people are afraid. And I don't really go to many sporting events. I used to go to a ton of Dodger games, and I went to a lot of Laker games, but over the pandemic, of course. But at some point, and this is what all sporting venues have to worry about. I wish they would. That at some point, people are going to stay home.
Yeah, my daughter called me up a couple of weeks ago. Angels were at Dodger Stadium, and she's there with my niece. They went together, and my daughter's an adult. I mean, she's going to be 50 this year. Mm-hmm. And she calls me up after the game. She says, Dad, what do I do? There's a great big brawl going right outside and I just stay inside. Just wait until security says it's all clear. And she's dramatic anyway, but I said, just be cool. Just stay clear. Stay inside. You're protected while you're still inside there.
But this is something that can't continue to happen. I mean, it's just got to be stopped somehow.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it's one of those things where it's actually happening at a much greater rate than before, or maybe we're just noticing it at a greater rate than before? Because I've seen it too. I've seen more of these videos.
No, I think it's happening more. I think they're drinking more, enjoying it less, and when they're upset, and now they're going to show their macho, then the fight starts.
Do you think any amount of that is like people just getting riled up from a year and a half of COVID quarantine? You think it'll come maybe back down, or
no? I just think it's reckless drunks.
Yeah, I mean that's
all it is. They're being macho
these days,
and I don't think it's being pent up. They're drunk. They're thugs.
They started to cut beer sales off after like the seventh inning. Yeah, and now they might.
They're thugs,
After 3?
It's going to eventually get, if they can't stop, it's going to get like the airlines, stop serving booze. Fortunately, they still serve it in first class.
Yeah.
But in coach, you're just going to cut it off altogether.
There was a thing, I'm sure everybody saw, that they had to fucking duct tape a fucking dude into the seat.
Yeah, that was nuts.
But, it used to be that if you created, I mean, you're a detective, you're in law enforcement. If you created a disturbance in the air, it was just straight to prison. I'm not sure what the penalty is, but if you were creating a disturbance in the air or had too much to drink or were fighting on a plane, that was immediately like you're going to do time. And just hundreds of them that we've seen. And
just this past week, they announced that the courts are tightening up, and the feds are not messing around with them. They're locking them up. They're not giving them hall passes. They're not letting them go. Just don't come to No, they're locking them up. They said it's been too prevalent. It's got to stop.
It used to be the one thing that you could rely on is that if you were even drunk, I mean, I've been hammered and flown, but you'd either sleep or anything, but you're not getting into it. Actually, I did get into it with a dude on first class one time. I said, he was talking really loud, and I said, hey, man, you want to shut the fuck up?
And that set him off?
Man, this guy had no sense of humor.
And I'm like, listen, man, you're still fucking talking loud. It's a red-eye flight. Shut the fuck up. I said, or we'll land, and then we'll see what or is. But, I mean, this dude he was drunk and he was talking loud, and I was just, I wasn't gonna. People were looking around. Nobody wanted to say anything. I was like, I'll say something.
I'll be the guy.
So, and then I was talking loud one time. The dude told me to be quiet, and I said,
"You know what? I now see how this feels from the other side."
Yeah. I haven't thrown a punch since I adopted 3 dogs ago. No. I could never fight.
I can't remember the last time I got it.
I can't run or fight. I think I just shit on myself. Nobody don't want to touch me.
That's where the
grab them. They're like, oh. Caca coming out of the back like a little kid up my waist.
Some sort of defense mechanism. He's shitting himself.
Yeah, it's like my defense mechanism. Get him! Oh, yeah? Todo surrao.
One of my nephews asked me one time, what would you do if they came up and they wanted to beat you? I said I'd shit a big turd in my hand and just hold it and say, who's first?
Put it on your fist. Come on.
I have seen videos of like street brawls or something, and someone like rip off their shirt. Other guy like get naked and just freaks the other guy out, and he bolts.
Yeah, I do like to watch those on YouTube.
Yeah,
Street Fighters. Yeah, that was good. Those are good ones. What do we have? What else? What else do we have? Are we good?
Yeah. I mean, we had two guests. This was a nice little wham bam boom.
Yeah.
Good episode. We'll maybe come back next week, do some voicemails with Oscar.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thanks to Alex Canter for coming out with NextBite and George Lopez Tacos.
Right.
Thanks as well to Daniel Parks, fantastic artist, put together.
Oh, great guy.
He did a great thing for you. Man. That's a beautiful picture.
Sure did.
And
is Gil reading a commercial right now?
No, but once we cut, we're going to do some ads.
All right. Thank you everybody for listening to Oh My God Hi. Oh My God Bye.